Hey, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society Podcast, reminding you that this podcast is a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out all the other great podcasts on the network at selfdefenseradio.net.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, the podcast about all things IDPA. And now, here's your host, President of the Non-Threat Assassination Squad, Lloyd Bailey.
Welcome to another episode of Unload and Show Clear. All too often, gun owners and gun culture are portrayed in the worst possible ways in the media. This podcast aims to counter that narrative by shining a light on the members of gun culture who are involved in IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association. Now, while IDPA members make up just a tiny fraction of the overall gun-owning public, I think they're a representative cross-section of that demographic. From all walks of life, rich, poor, and in between, young and old, men and women, patriotic, caring, friendly, and outgoing. And this podcast is about them. Today, you're going to meet one of these awesome people. But first, I want to thank our good friends, G4G Guns. After surviving an attempted kidnapping and having co-workers robbed at gunpoint, Patrick and Cassie Coburn decided to get a gun for protection, and that led them to teach others about the need to protect themselves and to be proficient with firearms, and that led to the creation of G4G Guns. It's an amazing store and an even more amazing website where you can shop for any gun, ammunition, accessories from the comfort of your own home and buy without any gimmicks or credit card fees. If you want the personal touch, visit their store at 175 Bear Road in Van Alstyne, Texas, or stop by and see them at a gun show near you on the weekends. They're great people. They offer great service, great prices, an amazing selection, and no hidden fees or gimmicks. Check them out at g4gguns.com. That's G, the number 4, gguns.com. G4G Guns, the galaxy for great guns. g4gguns.com. Our special guest today is Heather Martinez from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little about yourself and where you're from and what you do there in Santa Fe.
I'm actually from Houston, Texas. I came here when I was a young girl, about 9 years old, and I've been here since. And now I live in, like you said, Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I work for the state of New Mexico, and I do fun accounting stuff.
You make accounting fun, right?
Yes, exactly. We try to anyways.
So where did the interest in guns come from? Was it something that you grew up with around the house as a kid, or was it something that you developed later?
So for me, it was kind of a guns when I was a kid was like a no-no. It was like pretty much they're dangerous and things like that. And then as I got older, I met Kevin, and Kevin started shooting IDPA. To be honest with you, I can't remember when he started shooting, but he's my husband, Kevin Martinez. Everybody knows Kevin. And I started shooting about 4 years ago. So I've been shooting IDPA for 4 years now, and I pretty much can't get away from it. I love it, and everybody is fun that I shoot with. So
did Kevin drag you out to a match against your will, or how did that work? How did he convince you to come with him to the range?
So my first few kind of going to the ranges with Kevin, I just kind of was like a bystander and watcher and observer and kind of check things out for a while. And then I got a little bit of interest in being in the score shack, and I tried out the score shack for a while. And then after I did the score shack, I thought, well, why aren't I out there shooting? And that was my question, or being questioned from everybody else, is why aren't you out there shooting? So I decided to take it upon kind of myself, and I went out there and shot my first IDPA state match in Las Cruces in 2014.
Was that your first ever IDPA match?
I was actually talking to Kevin about that. That was my first sanction match.
Okay.
I think I had done maybe a couple local matches, but to be
Hmm.
honest with you, I don't remember those. But he told me I had to classify first, so I was like, well, maybe I did. So I don't remember, but I know I probably did a couple local matches and then kind of went in, if you want to say, the deep end.
Right. Although the local matches, the classifier, it's all a blur. What do
Yep,
you remember
exactly.
about what do you remember about that first sanctioned match? What do you remember about that day and the experience?
So what I remember a lot is everybody was very, very supportive, helpful. A lot of tips I was given as far as, just kind of this is what to do, this is how to do things, things like that. And at the beginning, to be honest with you, I did not know how to grip my gun. I honestly didn't know how to use my sights. So I was shooting everything and anything impossible sight. I mean, it's horrible, but threes and no shoots and things that I shouldn't have. But I mean, I got there. And so now I've learned my lesson. And after training and lots of matches at local matches and sanction matches, I'm getting better. So I got to be grateful for everybody that's out there to be
Awesome.
to help.
What's your favorite division and the gun that you compete with most often?
Right now I'm actually shooting ESP Marksman.
Hmm.
And I'm what and I'm most comfortable there right now. I mean, obviously, I wish I was an expert, but I'll get there one day, hopefully. Um,
Right.
but I mean, I get a lot of tips from a lot of people, and it's a lot of helpful people out there, and it's really nice to have the support out
Hmm.
there.
Did you start out in ESP, or did you start? A lot of people start in SSP and then switch guns at some point and switch divisions. Did you start in ESP or in another division?
Um, I'm pretty sure I started in ESP and I was actually a novice, and then with the new
Right.
classifier, I bumped up to a marksman. So
Cool.
I'm hoping to get better than a marksman soon. So we'll see how that
It
goes.
just How often do you guys get out and shoot local and sanctioned matches?
So local matches is every month as far as our home club. We try to
Hmm.
make it out to Los Alamos, Los Lunas, Albuquerque. We've been trying to hit up the state matches as much as we can out in Colorado, Arizona, and I went to nationals this year. It was my first time because I finally was able to go because before I was a novice, so I couldn't go. But
Hmm.
now that I'm a marksman, I was able to. So it's been a
What was
lot of
that?
fun. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. What was that experience like going from a as a marksman? I went. That was my classification when I went to my first nationals. What was the experience like for you?
The experience was a lot of fun, I gotta admit. It was really challenging as far as doing it all in one day. I did do it in one day.
Oh,
Um, so that was a little bit tough, but I really liked the stages. All of the SOs were really, really nice, and it was just a lot of fun. I mean, it was 18 stages, so 18 stages in one
yeah.
day is a bit insane. But we'll see next year if I put in because I think what I was told and what I've heard is it's Worlds next year. So I have a lot of points.
Correct.
But I told Kevin, I'm like, this, you go to Worlds once and I'll help you out while you're there because he actually was my caddy for all of nationals, which I was grateful for. So
Oh, very cool.
yes.
Very cool. I had a friend of mine, a couple of my friends who are both sergeants in the Dallas police force, and they're married, and the wife didn't have enough points to shoot on Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, so she shot all day on what was it, Thursday?
Yes, Thursday.
And finished up in the dark, and
Yep.
and and her husband was the caddy, and so that's that's pretty cool. So when you guys shoot together, do you shoot on the same squads typically? Or I've talked to a couple of people who are like, no, the wife doesn't shoot on my squad, she shoots on another squad because she doesn't. What's the relationship like on the range between the two of you? I know a lot of times, husbands and wives kind of, they get critical of each other, or they get a little, cranky at each other. And so it's better to have a little separation and not have the husband saying, oh, you need to do this and you need to do that. Right.
Yes.
So what's it like for you guys?
So Kevin is actually, I think he's called a state coordinator for New Mexico. So he's actually busy with, checking out stages and, running back and forth for state matches and our Scorcher in Albuquerque. So he's back and forth doing those things. And actually this whole year of 2018, we have a really good friend named Torrin Maynard, and he is an awesome mentor to me. And I chose this year to actually shoot with him all year, pretty much all year. So rather than me working with Kevin, I actually took a little bit of time off and just shot with Torrin pretty much all year long. Other than our local matches, as far as like our Espanola club is our home club. I work there, and I'm an SO and things like that with them. But for big matches and sanctioned matches, I pretty much was a shooter. I wasn't a worker, so I pretty much took it easy, and I enjoyed my time out there on the range. So, and
you got to focus on your shooting.
Yeah, exactly. And me and Kevin, we do really well together. It's funny because like he always tells me, I can tell you the same thing somebody else tells you, and you're going to listen to them and not listen to me. So I say sometimes it's true, but what do we got to do? I mean, sometimes I just don't want to hear it from him,
Right.
But, and we have that love relationship where it's, like we give grief and we get grief, so we're good. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I love shooting with Kevin. And when we are out at sanctioned matches out of state, we pretty much are shooting most of the time together. So that's a lot of fun.
Good. So you mentioned your home club. Give them a little shout out. Tell us a little about your home club and where they are and what they offer for IDPA competitors.
So our home club is Northern Rio Grande Sportsman's Club, and thanks to them, that's who our home club is. We do a monthly match there. It's every second Sunday of the month. So we're out there every second Sunday. If anybody wants to come and join us, we're out there. I really don't know the address, but you can just Google us. You'll find us. We're really easy to be found. And we pretty much every second Sunday we set up four stages, and then we have a reset. We only have 3 bays, so it's kind of hard to have 6, 7, 8, 9 stages, but it's a lot of fun. Right. And I mean, the more help that we get out there, the easier it is to reset and get things done.
Right.
But yeah, and I mean, we can go anywhere from having 12 shooters to 35 shooters. So
very cool. What talk about some of the sanctioned matches that you've been to. Do you have any that stick out in your mind that you really enjoyed shooting, that were a lot of fun, or that had lots of inventive stages that you enjoyed a lot?
The match that I really enjoyed, most current, I guess, is probably Colorado and actually nationals. I love the Scorcher, but it's hot out there. It happens. I think it's like June/July. And dang, it can be in the hundreds, but we get through it, and that's why it's called the Scorcher. But Colorado was this was their first time having it out there. And it was a lot of fun stages. and a lot of people, new people we got to meet. And that's what I kind of like working sanction matches, is because we get to see new shooters, old shooters, shooters that have been around for a while, and it's kind of nice to get to see old friends,
Mm-hmm.
out on the range.
Right. So when you're shooting, you're around your squad mates all day, but when you're working the match, you get to see every person that comes through.
Exactly. Yes. And it's kind of funny because when you're at, awards or, banquets or whatever is happening for that particular match, you're like, hey, I know that person. Hey, I know that person. And if you're working it, you've seen all those people, So, but it's a lot of fun either way, when you're a shooter or when you're a worker. And I love to help. And that's what I told Kevin next year is we're going to be helping next year. So
Very good.
it'll be fun.
So what kinds of, I know as a newer shooter, when I was a marksman and in my early development as a shooter, there were certain stages that I'd see in the match book that I liked, and there were other things that kind of freaked me out, and I obviously I worried too much about some of that stuff early on. But are there certain kinds of stages that you really like? Do you like lots of movers? Do you like things that make, stages that make you move a lot? Do you like tough long shots or tight shots? What kind of stages, what kinds of things do you like to shoot?
I like to shoot, to be honest. I like moving, like myself moving.
Mm-hmm.
I hate long shots. That is one thing that I hate, but I'm getting better at. So I tell myself, just bring it on with the long shots, because the only way you're going to learn is to practice. So, I mean, I don't really care for the long shots, but I love it, pretty much challenging stages, movement as far as people moving. And I like the standstill sometimes stages, but when it's a bunch of those stages, back to back, or, that's all it is, I kind of get
right,
like discouraged,
Yep. You were talking about not planning on sticking around at Marksman long. What's your practice routine like? What are you doing in addition to, shooting with your mentor this year? What other things are you doing practice wise? Are you doing a lot of dry fire, a lot of live fire? What's the shooting routine like? The practice routine?
So to be honest with you, I haven't really done much practicing as far as actual practice. Other than our local matches, but I keep telling myself I'm going to starting Monday to start dry firing, and I'm going to dry fire every single day, every day now on, I'm not going to make an excuse, because that's my problem, is that I make it an excuse. But I honestly, as soon as I start dry firing, I see it as soon as I go out on the range. I'm like, oh, I'm gripping my gun better. I'm moving my vest quicker, so it's
Right.
just, I think that a lot of it's in our mind, and a lot of classes that I've been trying to take has helped me as well. So I think more training, more dry firing this coming year is going to help me get to where I need to be.
It's so easy to just say, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow night," and then right, you don't set you don't set a routine, and you do it every now and then by the time you get to that next match, you've done it like once since you said you were going to start every night. It's
Yep, and that's exactly what I do. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it tonight, and then I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Cook dinner. Oh, I'm tired. How about tomorrow? And I keep an excuse, and then the night before, I'm like, oh yeah, dry fire for 5 minutes. Yeah, doesn't really help.
right. This is an odd question I always try to ask that most of the time results in a really boring answer, but every now and then I get an interesting one, so I throw it in there anyway. Is there anything that you take with you to the range or to matches, anything unusual that you always make sure that is in your range bag when you go to a match, for not counting your gun in the holster and mag carriers and eye and ear pro and your ammo? Is there something really important to you, either from a sort of a superstitious standpoint, or you have something that a routine or something that you need that you take with you that you always take to the range?
So there's a couple things actually, but the first thing is I have a couple keychains on my range bag,
Mm-hmm.
and I got two of them from one of our local people over at our local range,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just two New Mexico, little keychains. And then I got another one from actually Torrin's wife, Sarah. It's a gun, and it's a blinged out gun. It's all diamonds, and that's pretty much it. I've taken it every single match that I've gotten it. I've taken it with me. So it's kind of, I don't know if you want to say a good luck charm or whatever, but I bring it with me. And then I also bring, which is more even weird, is pickle salt. I actually suffer from, yeah. So I suffer from migraines really bad. And so I think I got some heat stroke at one point while I was out shooting. And I was told to bring salt with me. So I have salt with me every match I go to, because as soon as I'm starting to feel that heat getting to me, one, I haven't drank enough water, but I eat the salt and it actually helps me. So that's my kind of weird thing. It's probably once in a lifetime you'll hear that, but
right. It's exactly why I asked the question.
Yeah. And it's always with me. You can ask anybody. I mean, they could stop and ask me, and I have either a bottle of salt or packets of salt with me, either in my pocket or in my range bag.
So when you feel the migraine coming, so does the heat of the dehydration trigger the migraines?
Yep. Yeah, it does. And I know better now pretty much, but I still have it with me just in case that one time. And I don't want to be that person where the whole shooting gallery is, oh my gosh, Heather passed out, So I try to be sane, and be careful. So I always have my salt with me. So.
All right. Well, that's a first.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wind things up, is there, as a female shooter, of course, we're seeing more and more female shooters. We're still not seeing as many as we'd like to see. What do you tell your friends when they say, "Hey, what'd you do this weekend?" Or if your female friends express an interest in what you did over the weekend, what do you tell them about IDPA? How do you encourage them to follow you out to the range? Because I know if you don't have somebody like Kevin dragging you out there and introducing you to it, it can be intimidating, especially as a woman, to go by yourself.
Yeah. And it is, what I try doing, and I try my hardest to, try to convince women to come out. But I think it is that there is a little bit of intimidation for it, So I've been trying, telling these guys that we shoot with, and because that's pretty much all we shoot with in Espinal. There's a couple of us females, but there's way more men than there are females. I'm like, you guys bring your wives out, let them, they want to come out too, and they're like, oh, they have this and that. And then I'm like, well, why don't you guys go take care of that stuff and let them come out to the range? Like, but yep. The way it is, there's like 500 excuses, why mom can't come, or, wife or girlfriend or whatever can't come to the range because, they're taking care of this and that. But
right.
I hope one day that there's going to be a bunch of women, out and shooting, and maybe we'll have one whole squad with nothing but women, or even a whole, I don't know, maybe a sanctioned match of just women,
Right.
But we'll see. We'll get there one day.
That would be pretty cool. So what is it about IDPA that is so much fun for you, that why are you so passionate about it, that you keep coming back, you keep trying to get better, you actually volunteer and work at matches? What is it that you love so much about this sport?
I think meeting new people. The stages are always fun. I love traveling. I love traveling and eating, I should say. So when we go out to other matches and sanctioned matches and things like that, we're able to eat different things. and making new friends. I don't see many of these people often, but it's like they're a family. And so when I see them, once a year or, 4 times a year or whatever, it's like their family, and that's what I like is, we're all the same, we're all shooters, females are not any different than males, so we're all the same, we might shoot different calibers, we might shoot different guns, we might have different holsters, whatever it is, but we're all a team, we're out to have fun, I mean, of course we're all safe, but we always want to have fun, and that's what I tell people, you have our rule book Nazis that they're like, here's the rule book, and I'm like, guys, just have fun, be safe and have fun, and they laugh, and I'm like, guys, like, and like I get, the rules and stuff, but I'm just solely out there to have fun.
Yeah. Yep. It's like, I think I told somebody once that it's like a big family reunion with sporadic gunfire.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Totally.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I really do appreciate it, and
thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you. You as well.
All right, that's all we've got for you today. Thank you so much to our special guest for coming on the show. If you know somebody in the IDPA community who deserves some recognition, I'd love to talk to them. Send me an email at Lloyd, LLOYD, @unloadpodcast.com. Check out the show notes for today's episode and listen to past episodes at unloadpodcast.com. And if you like what you hear on the show and you'd like to support us, help keep the lights on, pay the bills, we would love your support. Visit patreon.com/unload and make a small monthly contribution to help continue what we're doing here. Tune in again next week for another edition of Unload and Show Clear.